What is up, you guys? We're back at it with another video. It has been a hot little minute, but today is a fun one. Today we're going to do the 1,000-mile review of the Triumph Trident 660. If that sounds like a good time to you, stick with me because we're going to get into it right after this intro. Check. Okay, so we're here on the 2022 Triumph Trident, and before I get into talking about this bike, I just want to kind of say a couple things that I'm kind of forced to say now because of some of the comments I've received. I've seen other vloggers, whether they're motorcycle vloggers, car vloggers, gun vloggers, whatever, I've seen them having to say similar things, and now I fully understand why. People will question your opinion on something, and you have to understand that an opinion is just that. It's an opinion. If I say something is good about a motorcycle or bad about a motorcycle, it is based subjectively on what I like in a motorcycle, my riding style, my riding experience, just how I like a motorcycle to be. People that come to watch these videos, at least a lot of people that come to watch these videos, are here because they respect or relate to my riding style, my riding experiences, and my opinions. So if I say a motorcycle has a horrible fuel range, I don't want you to say, well, it's because it's for bobbing down to the bar, it's not supposed to be a long distance tourer. I go long distance touring, so if I say a bike has bad fuel range, it is bad for me, not objectively for everybody. We all want different things out of a motorcycle, and I personally don't want to go to the gas station a lot. So if a bike has a really small gas tank, that is a bad thing, and I will deliver it as such. But with that being said, let's get on into it. Let's actually talk about some really cool things about the 2022 Triumph Trident. Woo! Torque in fourth gear is definitely one of the good things about this bike. Torque everywhere. It's a fun little motorcycle. The power on this bike is honestly pretty good. I love the power delivery on it. It spools up and gives you a healthy dose of horsepower and torque right when you need it. It can't really give you a dose of horsepower, I guess. You can only really feel torque necessarily, but the torque hits in really nicely. The bike accelerates pretty quickly. When I get this green light, my lane's actually ending, so I'll blast ahead and kind of give you that little 0 to 60 glimpse so you can see what we're talking about. Okay, I'm about to get this green light and my lane is ending, so we'll get a little quick acceleration ahead. If I can get the bike into first, there it is, and kind of give you the 0 to 60. There it is. Pretty quick, like I said. I don't think you'll ever need more power than this. I'm generally a guy who likes smaller bikes, you know. A 650 or 660 in this sense is a big bike to me. And this bike delivers. It is really, really well balanced. Is it a Versys replacement? I don't know about that. I don't think so. Mostly it's because it's just not as capable as a Versys, but the power plant is nice. The power plant is a lot smoother than the Versys and a lot more refined, but I think the Versys kind of being a little bit more abrupt, being a little bit more raw, is a better riding style for me in particular. So if I had to decide between the two, personally, I would go with the Versys. Especially once you get some money into it, kind of make it more off-roady, you know. But if you're kind of shorter stature, overall smaller, this is a really good option just because the Versys is kind of tall. This bike being so much smaller will really make it more maneuverable, make it more approachable for the shorter riders or the lighter riders or the people with, I don't know, just overall less maybe upper body strength, because you kind of do have to haul the Versys around a little bit. It's a beefy boy. But for me, I'd go Versys, personally. It is colder than I imagined it would be. I, for some reason, thought it was going to be warm like it has been the last few days. Didn't even check the weather. Luckily, I put a hoodie on under my little riding jacket here because it is very cold. I should be in winter gear. It's like 50 degrees, which for me is cold. I'm from the South. I've been here a long time. 50 is cold to be riding around, honestly. Especially in summer gloves. My hands are cold, my legs are cold, but this video is not about being cold. It is about the Triumph Trident. So let's stay on subject. First things first, there's a lot of good about this motorcycle. So much good stuff about this motorcycle. if you want the TLDR, this bike is great. Go get one. Honestly, the fueling on this motorcycle is just incredible. Kudos to Triumph on the fueling. The power just comes on so nice and smooth and linear. Every gear, just nice, perfect power curve. This is just beautiful. Like, it does exactly what you expect it to do, no matter how fast you're going, no matter what gear you're in. It just spools up nice and reliably. Nice, nice, nice. Good job, Triumph. I am 5'11" and 200 pounds, but on the internet I'm about 6'3", 250. But in real life, 5'11", 200 pounds. This is how I am standing on it. The pegs are kind of long, so you do have to get it like a wide stance about you in order to not just destroy your calves, but I can almost completely straight leg it with ease, even with having to stand really wide. Yeah, there you go. This is me sitting on the seat. This is where my legs hit. It's pretty easy, nice and low. The bike is really light. It's really nimble. Overall, it's one of the more nimble chassis I've ever ridden, if we're going to be honest. It's super flickable, super easy to handle. It's honestly a great beginner bike, minus the fact that it does pack a little punch. Like, perhaps a little too much power for a beginner. Really depends on who you ask. I like beginners to start on 250s personally. The 250 class bike, I think, is the perfect beginner bike. But if you're that kind of person that wants to have like a bigger bike for your first bike, you want something more of a middleweight, this is a great option. This is definitely a great second bike option, I think. Probably the best second bike option. If you learn on your little 250, then you grab one of these. You're not going to outpace this thing. This thing has enough power for even me. I'm very, very experienced. It has enough power for me. I think it'll have enough power for you, but not so much that it's going to be like lifting the front wheel on you and getting you into a lot of trouble. Really, really good. The seat on this bike it's kind of a weird mix of like likes and dislikes, I'll say. The fabric on it is like clearly too big or too loose or something, where it doesn't like sculpt the seat nicely. There's like some sag on it. What are y'all doing? What y'all doing? Quit being sketchy. Looks like a dope deal right there. The fabric on it is kind of loose and doesn't really fit too taut. So it looks bad, it kind of feels bad, but when you're sitting on it, it's a really great seat. The support is nice, the comfort is nice. Even with hours in the saddle, it still feels pretty good. I think the longest I've done in a single time on it is about 2 hours, maybe 2 hours. That's pushing it, maybe hour and a half, 2 hours, but it stayed comfortable the whole time. It stayed compliant. It felt like it wasn't just giving way under my weight. Like I said, I'm a pretty heavy dude. Not the heaviest, but at 200 pounds, I am heavier than most, I would say. At least most that are going to be looking at this bike. Generally, I think a lot of small frame people are going to end up on this bike. Damn, that is a big ass house. Woo! Look at it. It just keeps going. That is an incredible house. Man, that's how the other half lives, y'all. My house does not look like that at all. Whoa, what in the hell, Atlanta? Big old craters in the road. Oh my God. Look at this street, y'all. It's good to have a bike with some nice brakes on it so you can get around that. There's just a pile of rocks in this street. Like, seriously. Somebody just came along and just dumped their rocks right there in the road. Atlanta roads are like the sketchiest situation to be in. If there's not rocks, there's going to be some random pothole or a big metal plate covering a big pothole, or just a random whole bag of trash sometimes. My homie Vicente, I don't know if he watches these videos, but he was cruising along. There was just a tire one day that he actually ended up hitting because he couldn't stop. It's just wild out here. Dangerous, dangerous streets, y'all. Be careful if you're riding out here. See, look at that right there. Big ass metal plate just on the road. For no reason, just a big metal plate ready to wreck your day up. One awful thing about this bike is the lack of click into first from neutral. It's just a mushy little push. It's honestly kind of sketchy. Like, I need a click to tell me when I'm in gear. Like, it's just having that tactile, like, click, clunk, whatever, big old clunk if you ride a Harley. I think it's a safety issue. You want to know that you made the gear that you made the gear shift that you're intending to make. Granted, there's a gear position indicator on this, so I guess you could just look down for confirmation, but that's going to do two things. It's going to take your eyes off the road, and it's going to make glaringly apparent how trash the gear position indicator on this bike is. if you're ripping through the gears, the gear position indicator cannot keep up. It'll always read the wrong thing. There's been times where I am in neutral and it says I'm in third. Like when I know I'm in neutral, there's been times where I'm in first and it says that I'm still in second because it missed that shift. It eventually gets there, but it always kind of takes a little bit longer than I'd like it to. It's like it waits for the clutch to be all the way out, hesitates, and then changes the gear position on the dash. Which if you're churning and burning, doesn't really work out too well. Or if you're trying to leave a stop like so, I'd like to feel that I went into first. Granted, versus having to look down, because we've all had that situation where you're in neutral and you give it a fistful of gas and throw your legs up and nothing happens because you're in neutral, so you just make a bunch of noise and almost fall over. We've all had that happen at least once. Don't try to deny it. I know you have. I definitely have. And we can avoid those kind of mistakes with a tactile feel in the shifter, or at least an audible noise, something. It's just dead silent and just mush. It kind of reminds me of like when you're in first and you start pushing down a lot of bikes. Like, God, did you see this? Holy hell. Oh my God. Ugh. Okay, we're still going. It reminds me of a lot of bikes that, like, some bikes you'll feel like the floor when you're like shifting down from like first, or you'll feel like it'll continue to click. But on a lot of motorcycles, whoa, pothole. On a lot of motorcycles, it'll just be like mush down. There's nothing there. That's how it feels going into first on the Triumph Trident. Dude, this road, you see that truck hit that big pothole? This is insanity how bad this road is. All right, I just grabbed some pictures here. So, since I'm off the bike, seems like a good time to kind of point out, oh God, excuse me, kind of point out some pros and cons and kind of talk to you about some likes and dislikes that require me to be off the bike. A really good vlogger would have filtered out that weird little hiccup burp thing, but that's not what I am, so you guys get to keep it. Anyway, the seat. As you can see here, there's a lot of slack in this fabric. I feel like there needed to be like another cut here or some sort of stitch to make that fit better, so there's not like a big like pillowy gap there. But like I said, it is really comfortable. It's super compliant. It's plush, but in a good way. It's like that nice foam support that you'd get from like a foam mattress. It's a good seat to be on. It's not a good seat to look at or touch. It kind of gives you this weird thick condom feel situation with the cover, which works when you're riding on it, but is just very awkward. Like I said, this factory bag, it's attached properly. It's just not a very good, super good design. You can tighten it up some more, but it always just kind of loosens under its own weight. And the little clip, see if I can show you, the little clip there, it does stretch this out a lot and kind of damage the seat a little bit. Not like it's going to poke holes in the seat, but it's definitely leaving pretty serious dents in it, you know, which, you know, you win some, you lose some, you know. Same thing happens if you put a tank bag on. The straps will rub your paint. Adding luggage to a motorcycle in a non-traditional way, like outside of designated rack systems, tends to kind of damage the bike in some way. If you've run magnetic tank bags, you've had them scratch your paint. There's always something, you know. And I think that's a small price to pay to have some luggage on a bike that has otherwise no storage whatsoever. But on to the next thing is the exhaust. It is god-awful ugly. The exhaust looks terrible. That huge can there is awful. I hate it. But it sounds really good. Let's fire it up here. I'll let you hear it. Turn the bike to on. This bike is going to want some clutch to start. There you go. I'll let you hear it at idle. And now here's it revving a little bit. Pretty good. I like it. Another thing that's kind of a hit and a miss for me about this bike is this whole little tail section assembly. Normally I hate these kind of tail section assemblies. They're to be Euro compliant. I'm pretty sure their regulation is the tag has to be behind the rear tire. So you'll see these huge hang around things like the Ducati Diavolo. I'll throw a picture up here. Probably the worst offender. That thing looks awful. Not the bike, just the tail section. But obviously it would look cooler with like some sort of tail tidy and like the tag right here. But this one I don't mind so much. I actually kind of dig it. I think it could do without the side reflectors. Personally, if I was riding it every single day, those would have to go. But really good looking as far as like having to do that. That's a really nice way to pull it off, I would say. Overall, I would say the looks of the bike are just a hit. I like the silhouette of it. I like how it's aggressive but still pretty standard. I like how it's not too standard where it's like not sporty, but it's sporty enough. If I were to go do a track day, I think I could really enjoy myself on this. Getting up into the twisties, this bike is perfect. Like, dream machine for the twisties. Just enough power to really kind of get in there, but not enough to get overwhelmed or to be bored. Sometimes you'll be riding a bike and you'll just be bored because there's just way too much power that you can't actually use, and on the bottom end, that's just not where it's at. Like, R1s are like that, where they really want to be revved up really high. They like that top of the power band, and it's rare that I'm in a place where I can get that fast where I'm actually using that, you know? Headlight is another hit for me. It's nice and retro looking, which is kind of what they were going for. They wanted like kind of a neo-classic sort of deal. The headlight is the win for me for sure. It lights up the world, or I was going to say lights up the world, lights up the road. Maybe the world, I guess the entire world. The brightest headlight ever. It'll be the brightest headlight they ever saw. It's retro looking. It works really well. It lights up the road ahead of you really nicely. All the little bits like this guy here, the little radiator guard or surround, I guess, the fender, all the little plastic bits that have to be there are done really well. This was a bold move for me. I'm not sure why they did that in high polish. Could have worked out in black, but you know, I'm no designer. The foot pedal here is honestly pretty trash. They could do better there. Again, like, it's functional but doesn't look good. That's clearly one of the places where they cut some corners to save some money and keep this bike's price down. One big hit is this duck. This is not a factory duck, but a massive, massive, massive requirement. If you're going to modify a Triumph Trident, you got to get the duck. But all jokes aside, the instrument cluster is one of the best I've used. I really, really hope Triumph keeps putting this on bikes because it's great. All the information is exactly where your eyes fall naturally when you're looking for it. Like, I like that the rev counter is up at the top. I love where the speedometer is. I love all the information it gives. It really has all the information you need and no information that you don't for the most part. Really nice. That is a hit. I wish my bike had it. My bike has a version of it, like kind of a more classic looking version of it, but when I say my bike, I do mean the Triumph, the 2017 Triumph Bonneville Bobber is what I'm riding every day. But yeah, looks department, they knocked it out the park. I would say in general, they knocked it out the park. There are some shortcomings, like I said. That shift is awful into first. The exhaust looks like absolute hot garbage, even though it sounds good. These levers are a little aggressively long, but they do the job. That'd be quick to change in the aftermarket. And the range could be better. You're not getting a huge host of range on it. You are going to be stopping at the gas station a good bit. Not a very big tank. Also not very good fuel economy, but it's enough. It's doing way better than my bobber. My bobber holds 2 gallons of gas, which is definitely not enough. This is doing way better. I want to say it's something like 3.5 or something. I'll float the figures on the screen right here because I don't remember, and I'm not the kind of person that memorizes or brings a fact sheet with me. I just like to do these reviews off the cuff. But yeah, I have very little like downsides about it after 1,000 miles. The one thing that I will point out is if you're going to do the services yourself, the wrench light on the dash for this bike has to be deactivated by a dealer. If you found some workaround, please let me know in the comments. But as far as I know, you cannot turn off the wrench on your own. It has to be done by a dealer. And after doing the first service, the dealer did say that, like, we did not take the bike to this dealer for the service. The service was done at home, taken to the dealer to get the wrench turned off. And they said they will do one for free, like one free wrench turn off. And then afterwards, I believe it is $60. Which I don't know if that's a full hour of labor or a half an hour of labor. I don't know what their rate is, but $60 to turn a light off because you did your own oil change negates the whole point in doing your own oil change. So for me, that's a miss. That's really a shot at DIY culture from Triumph, which is a bummer. Hopefully there is a workaround. If you know it, let me know for sure. But otherwise, I think if it were going to be my daily, I'd end up just having that wrench on all the time. I would memorize my mileage or make notes so I know when to do my next oil change, but I would not be going to the dealer to get that service light turned off. I do have a friend at Triumph, so maybe I can talk to him and see about how they're turning it off, if I can figure out how to do that at home, or maybe like kind of bump the right elbows to get that light turned off for free from now on. We'll see, but that is kind of a bummer. You know, it's something you can live with, but it is a little bit of a bummer. But yeah, I know I didn't go super into depth about this bike, but after 1,000 miles, it's been nothing but fun. very few issues. Nothing has gone wrong. It's done everything from ride in the dark, ride in the rain, ride in the sunshine, twisties, highway duty, back road bombing, traffic, like everything the bike has been good at. It's just a really incredible machine. I think Triumph knocked it out the park on this one. I hope it's selling really well. Between this and the Tiger Sport that has the same engine, I think they are selling really well. So I think the real big win on this bike is the engine, and it seems like if they keep selling bikes with this engine in it, we will keep seeing bikes with this engine in it, which is great. Throw this engine in a little cruiser, like a little around town bop around cruiser. Throw this into a more aggressive like adventure bike. Like I'd like to see not the Triumph Tiger Sport, but like a Triumph Tiger 660 that's like ready to hit the road. Jack it up, put some knobbies on it. That would be a bike that I would buy. But that is it for this one. I appreciate your support as always. I got a few videos that are going to be rolling out in the next few days, couple weeks, so stay tuned. It's going to be great. If you haven't yet, please hit subscribe. I got a few subscribers since the last video, and I super appreciate that. If you're new here, thank you. If you've been here the whole time, thank you even more for the support. And if you like this video and this check-in at 1,000 miles on a Triumph Trident 660, please go ahead and hit thumbs up, because that means the world to me. Y'all have a good rest of your day, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.